Okay, we can go ahead and start if you're ready.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting for the Board of Public Works for Wednesday, August 16, 20. TJ?
Good morning, Madam President Garcia. TJ Knight, Assistant Executive Officer, taking role in establishing quorum. President Garcia, Vice President Villegas, Commissioner Corsand are present, and we do have a quorum. Commissioner Reyes is absent today, and President Pro Tem Davis will join us shortly. We are also joined by City Attorney Representative Ms. Virginia Choi. Once again, I'm Assistant Executive Officer TJ Knight. President Garcia, we do have a speaker card. We have no speaker cards under public comment. We have no neighborhood council commentary, and we have one speaker card under item 3 this morning.
Okay, very well. Given that we do not have any public comments, general public comment is now officially closed for today. Moving on to the first item on today's business, which is the approval of the minutes of Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023. Is there a second to my motion to approve this item?
A second.
Thank you, VP Villegas. TJ Knight, there's a first by VP Villegas and a second by there's a first by me and a second by Vice President Villegas to approve the minutes of Wednesday, August 2nd.
Very good. We will take a roll call vote on that approval, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
And Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
And all ayes, and the item is approved.
Very well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your patience, and good morning to everybody that's joining us virtually. It was a very heavy traffic day out there, so we were all trying to get here. DJ, I think my mic goes off in and out. I noticed that earlier, but we'll just keep going. Hopefully it doesn't.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyways, welcome everybody and happy Wednesday. It is the midst of summer and a lot of you have kids going back to school, so I wish you a lot of luck on that. And that is probably the reason why we have so much traffic, just saying. Okay, so now, moving on to the first item on today's business, which is the bids at 10 a.m. Bids will be received at 10 a.m. for the following public works projects: landscape maintenance of medium islands at specific locations, North Central, work order M0016655, with an estimate amount of $900,000 in Council Districts 1, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, and 14. Second project, landscape maintenance of median islands at specific locations, West Valley, work order M0016656, with an estimate amount of $900,000 in Council Districts 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 12. And Mr. Castellanos, are we ready to go? All right, it's TJ.
Thank you, Madam President. And once again, TJ Knight, Assistant Executive Officer. I'm joined this morning by Matthew Castellanos of the Board Secretariat. We do have 2 bids this morning on item number 1, and I will read into the record the bidder name and the total bid amount. Starting with Far East Landscape and Maintenance Incorporated. And Far East Landscape's total bid amount is $2,073,216.64. 2,073,215.64. Well, I'll read it into the record one more time. 2,073,215.64. Thank you. And our second bidder for item number 1 this morning is Mariposa Landscapes Incorporated, with a total bid amount of $2,076,346.28. 2,076,346.28. And that concludes our bid opening this morning.
TJ, I see Green Garden Inc. Did they submit for this one as well?
Yes, I apologize, Madam President. We do have a third bid this morning, so we in fact received 3 bids on item number 1 this morning. The third bid is from The third bid is from Green Garden Incorporated. And Green Garden Incorporated's total bid amount is $2,039,075.52 to 039-075-52. And that is our third and final bid for item number 1. And that is for the first bid for item number 1. For item number 2, which is landscape maintenance of median islands in specific locations West Valley, we have again, we have 3 bids for this item, starting with International Environmental Corporation. International Environmental Corporation's total bid amount is $2,032,272.06 to $032,272.06. The second bid for our second bid opening is from Far East Landscape and Maintenance Incorporated. And their total bid amount is $2,011,949.34 to $011,949.34. And our third bid for our second bid opening is from Mariposa Landscape Incorporated, and their total bid amount is $2,634,706.30 to $634,706.30. And that concludes our bid opening for this morning for item number 1.
Thank you very much, TJ, Mr. Castellanos, for leading us in the bid acceptance. Al, are you here for the bid? Who's? Oh, Hector. Maybe we can talk after the meeting today about these estimates? Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, maybe you can reach out to my office and talk about these estimates that came in today? Thank you. Okay, TJ Knight, colleagues, is there a motion on the table to adopt and approve item number 1 with 2 bids, 2 project bids?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Corson. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Davis. TJ Knight, there's a first by Commissioner Corson and a second by Dr. Davis to adopt and approve item number 1.
Very good, Madam President. And for the record, we are joined by Commissioner Davis, President Pro Tem Davis. And so we're taking roll on approving and adopting item number 1, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas, President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
And Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
All ayes, and the item is approved and adopted.
Great, thank you very much, and that is the end of the bid acceptance. Thank you, Mr. Castellanos and TJ. Moving on to item number 2, this is a request from the Bureau of Engineering in Council District 14 for a budget increase in supplemental agreement, change order number 52, Los Angeles Engineering, Inc., 7th Street Streetscapes Improvement Package number 1. Recommending the board to authorize $2,976,550 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $10,098,431 for the 7th Street Streetscape Improvements Package number 1. It's hard to say right there. Recommendation number 2, authorize the city engineer to issue a supplemental agreement, change order number 52 to Los Angeles Engineering, Inc., for a not to exceed amount of $85,000 for the project to construct the additional traffic signal modifications along 7th Street between Los Angeles Street and Main Street as approved by the Los Angeles Department of Transportation, and extend the terms and conditions of the LAE contract for the current ceiling of 25% above the contract award amount to a ceiling of 80% above the contract amount. 3, authorize 2 members of the board to sign the supplemental agreement change order number 2. So it did it again. I think it's just a little flaw there on the mic. Okay. And 4, authorize the city engineer to issue subsequent change orders under the contract up to the revised construction budget of $10,098,431. And this morning we had Mr. Wong here, so good morning, sir, welcome.
Hi, good morning, commissioners. My name is George Huang from the Bureau of Engineering, Street Improvement Division. So the item we have before you today is for the 7th Street Streetscape project. A little background about this project: it's currently in construction. The board approved the construction, the budget back in June 25th, 2021, for a contract amount of $5.7 million. And then the board also, we came back to the board on March 15, 2023, to increase the revised budget to $1.42 million. The 7th Street project, in terms of the scope of work, is to provide a multimodal corridor between Figueroa Street to San Pedro Street. And for this will help enhance pedestrian, bicycles, and transit that are going through these limits. The work includes curb ramps, transit islands, bus pads, and corner islands. And also includes a dedicated bike path along this corridor. So we're here for the board today because we issued a change order number 52, which exceeded the current revised budget for the construction budget for the project. This change order 52 was $85,000, and it was due to making traffic-related safety improvements along the corridor between Los Angeles and Main Street. So we're doing work kind of intersection by intersection. And as a result, this exceeded the terms and conditions of the contract, which was 25% of the awarded contract amount. So on page 3 of the board report, it presents a summary table of the change orders we issued to. We currently have issued change orders up to $1.286 million, and then a forecasted amount in the table shows that we're going to exceed that current construction budget of our current $1.4 million construction budget. So therefore, we're also coming to the board to request for an additional contingency of $2.96 million, which will bring the project's construction budget to approximately $10 million. So as a result of this change order 52, we're also issuing a supplemental agreement with the contractor to revise the terms and conditions of this contract. We're also requesting the board to approve the new ceiling to, instead of the 25%, to increase it to 80% of the construction award amount. The additional contingency for the $2.9 million includes work that includes additional sidewalk repairs that we're doing. Initially, this project, we were only doing more spot repairs, but since then, the spot repairs we've done sort of provides. We're adding additional sidewalk to enhance sort of the pedestrian path along this corridor. We've also are doing a lot of. There's also a lot of on-site security that we had to provide. Working in the area, there's a lot of just to provide safety for the workers and for city staff. We're also including a lot of worksite traffic control that had to be coordinated. Initially, we were working with DWP to provide some relocation work of their utilities. We had wanted to work together to use the same traffic, to have them use our traffic control and full closures that were in place. That way, as a kind of so we can work together so they can do their work, and then we can come in and do our improvements. But since then, due to kind of scheduling and staff issues, we sort of separated from their work with our work because there's been a lot of time delays, and so that's one of the things we're doing as right now to kind of reduce the delays and the cost that's been accumulating as part of this work. So. So this is a kind of the projected cost is 2.9 million to complete that we know to date. And then the end results, we're trying to beautify and provide accessibility for the community, and also with the safety enhancements in mind, and to also improve the mobility along this important area of the downtown Los Angeles. So, and then with that, I think that concludes my report for this project. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wong, for that report that you just gave us. Colleagues, any questions on this item? CVP Villegas and Dr. Davis. We'll start with you, Vice President Villegas, and then Dr. Davis.
Thank you, and thank you for your thorough report. I just wanted to ask for a quick question. This contingency, will that be all that you'll be requesting, or will there be other things that come up as we get, closer to finishing up, or as we go through all of 7th Street?
Right. We anticipate this contingency amount will capture all the significant extra work and unforeseen that we have discovered, and also yet to discover on this project. We're going to do everything we can to, like right now, some of the worksite traffic control that we had estimated, we might be able to negotiate down with the costs now, because we're no longer waiting for DWP to piggyback off of the project's traffic control. So we anticipate that we may come back to the board still for additional contingency, but we're going to do everything that we can to work with what we have. Yes.
Yes, you will come back. Okay, do you know why we can't account for it here?
Mm-hmm.
Is it that work isn't, I'm not going to answer the question for you, just why wasn't it accounted for in this go around?
I see. Right, because right now we are only about a little under half of the project work that we've done right now, about a third, I think, of the way. And so as we continue to work towards Figueroa, the other 2/3 of the project, we may encounter other unforeseen conditions that might require us to come back to the board. But again, our staff is really trying to mitigate and partner with other agencies to reduce the effort of the traffic control review time,
Okay.
and make sure that we're really working within our means here.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, and thinking since this is today's 3 million, next go around will probably be another, I don't know how much it will be, but I'm trying to think, going back to the original request for this work. When we have companies bid for this work, we're at a fixed price, or an estimated budget, I should say, and we select a firm that's going to be comparable to our estimated figures, and now we've exceeded that. So we can possibly do this in a separate meeting, but I'd like to figure out how, at the end of projects, and this is how do we keep things, fair for those other companies that weren't selected, and yet we have to come back for additional TOS, such as this. I realize that this project is very complicated, but there's a delta for what we estimate a project to cost and the selection of that firm. And then by the time as we're a third done with this, we're already exceeding, the budget. And so what would it have been had we selected another firm that it was already at this budget? That's where I'm trying to get at.
Right, understood. Yes. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, VP Villegas. That's a very good point as well. Dr. Davis.
Yeah, you mentioned in the project that we have gone back to expand the scope of responsibility on the project. We've increased resources for the project, that we have, as a result of that, had some impact in terms of public safety and traffic control, I think is what you told.
correct.
So my question to you, as we look at this particular project and what we're doing, what impact, if any, will what we're doing here have on both residential interests as well as commercial interests in the area? You have, again, eloquently identified both the traffic control and the public safety for the existing residents. And so I'm interested in what the impact of these improvements will be on the future, both residential impacts and commercial impacts, as we envision it, or as our engineers envision what we're doing. Can you share that with me?
Absolutely. Our end results of this project is really to beautify this area. We're planting trees as a result of this project. We're also working with the community on providing like loading zones in the area for the businesses, and then also we have been outreaching to the community as well of our project, keeping them apprised of where the closures are, and how to, and if to keep their access to their driveways, to their loading areas, much as possible for the project. So the community is really getting a kind of a revamp of this whole street here, the 7th Street, to what it is looking like today. It's going to be more for all users, not just for vehicles, but also for buses and people who choose to bike in that area. There's a lot of residences there, and people who commute to work. Now they have a bike.
To your knowledge, does our work inspire or motivate any new interests economically in the area?
That's a good question. Sorry.
Oh.
It's just, that's a good question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you?
As I said, does the work that we're doing in our expansion and what we're presenting before the board, does it, to your knowledge, inspire or motivate any new economic opportunities to your, in terms of what we're doing?
Yes, I would believe we do. We're setting an example. We're setting an example of sort of what a complete street would look like in the area. We're hoping that this will provide a lot of, like, a kind of model for other streets in the future, that and other projects that we can develop, and that we the Bureau of Engineering can advertise and get other contractors on board to do the work, to do future work along this along other streets as well. So I think that's sort of the direction that we've been going, is more pedestrian focused, transit focused, trying to get people out of the cars, and this is kind of one of the it's kind of like a pilot project in essence that we're doing here, that the city is trying to, hoping, taking our lessons learned here and kind of trying to put more projects out there and get more people to more work opportunities to work on other locations throughout the city.
I think your colleague may have had some.
Yeah, Ms. Lam?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms.
Let me
Lam.
introduce Winnie Lam, who's our project manager on this project.
No problem.
Yes, to answer your question, being a project manager, we do have a $2 million affordable housing sustainability community grant. And one of the feature and the purpose of this is to connect affordable housing residents
Sure.
to work that is in the more busy area, the Wilshire Grand area. And so the protected bike lane is one way to deliver them
Right.
safely from
Okay.
more of the residents in the east of 7th Street.
Sure.
So Alameda Street, San Pedro Street, and currently I know of 3 housing that brand new housing for affordable housing that is on 7th Street. And this project will complete that pathway for them.
Wonderful. And so that's the kind of thing we're looking at. And as we move forward, in the past, we've had themes around how we are able to engage in our projects. We've had in the past, we've had great streets, if you will, and we have had an interrelationship between our transportation. It's kind of similar to TOD, transportation-orientated districts, where we make sure that it motivates and inspires economic opportunity as well. I'm very glad to hear that affordable housing will have a significant role in this, and would love to know that moving forward, some of the improvements that we're making in traffic will not only benefit residents, but that it will hopefully inspire and motivate economic opportunities and business moving forward as well. So I know that the reason why you've expanded the work that we're doing in this area is that we wanted to improve the quality of life. And I just want to make sure in doing so that we capture every opportunity to add strength economically as well. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Any other questions? Part of the cost that's happening that increases this, and we had this conversation during Mr. Wong, yeah, I think it's the microphone. It's part because we, the board, also asked you I think it was last year, maybe last year, for you to add security services to the construction site, because there was a lot of issues happening, and there was an incident that we had to really pay attention to. So, thank you. Thank you both. So I just want to say that that's an additional, and plus, I think the reservation that you have moving forward is because this is a very old street and has not been improved for many, many years. And so as you start moving into the next phases and you go to next streets, it becomes a little bit harder, or you don't know what you're going to deal with when you get there. So I just wanted to I know I had the same thought as Vice President Villegas when we had our briefing, and I said, well, when are we going to end, when are we going to cap the ceiling of it? But I think, there's just so many unknowns as you move into the next phases. So I mean, this is the project that you guys are working on. We're very excited about it, and we want to see it come to fruition. And I think Dr. Davis brought a very good point when I also agreed with a very good question he asked, which is this going to bring more businesses to the area? At the end of the day, we want to see how this is going to bring more businesses. So perhaps it'll be a good idea to present this project to the mayor's office of business economic, just so that, hey, we're about to improve this very beautiful street, and it's in the middle of downtown, a very busy area and a very busy business area as well. Let's see how we can get this street more attractive for economic development there. So that's a very good point, Dr. Davis. Thank you for that. Anyways, I just want to say thank you for doing the project. I know this has come with many challenges, but to Vice President's point, we want to see where it's going to cap at some point, and not kind of like this running budget of to make sure that this has. So perhaps we can start working on a cap around this to make sure that we also leave the street improved and beautiful at the same time, but also just really be mindful of the budget and our ceiling costs there. Okay. All right. Well, I don't have any other issues with this item. Is there a motion on the table? Item number 2, forward and forthwith.
So moved.
Thank you, VP Villegas. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. TJ Knight, there's a first by Vice President Villegas and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 2 forward and
Yes, very good. We'll take a roll call vote on item number 2, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
All ayes, and item number 2 is approved and will be adopted forthwith.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a good day. Have a good rest of the week. George, are you here for the third? Okay, I didn't think you were. All right, moving on to item number 3. This is in Council District 13. Let me, just before I leave, I know everybody was here for that one, but just before we move on to you, Mr. Smith, I want to just take a really time to recognize 2 additional, so colleagues, I want to introduce you to 2 additional staff members on our team. Ms. Natalie, who's going to be working with OCB and with Paul and all of their team. And then also Mr. Jose, and what was his last name, sir?
Jose Castillo and
Jose.
Natalie Rosas.
Natalie Rojas and Jose Castillo. So commissioners, this is a new staff to us. We'll be seeing them around. If you get contacted by them, just know that. And Mr. Castillo is going to be working directly under our board secretary. And so Natalie, we're excited, and Jose excited to welcome you aboard. Welcome to Board of. It's the best department ever, right? Everybody in here agrees. All right, thank you guys. Have a good day, everybody. Moving on to item number 3, this is a request in Council District 13 for the bid rejection, Class 3 remedial slope mitigation, Sunset Boulevard, Coronado Terrace, and Waterloo Street Phase 2 project. Recommending the board to 1, reject all bids received for the Class 3 remedial slope mitigation at Sunset Boulevard, Coronado Terrace to Waterloo Street Phase 2 project, and notify all bidders of the board's action. And 2, instruct the city engineer to return to the board at a later date to re-advertise the project. And Mr. Smith, you're here for this item. Welcome and good morning. Oh, we have a public speaker on this item? Okay, we'll take public speaker first.
Thank you, President Garcia. Mr. Jonathan Sassones, I see that you've unmuted. You will now have 2 minutes to input your public comment on item number 3. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, President Garcia, Mr. Knight, and the rest of the esteemed board and commissioners. Thank you for allowing me time to speak. My name is Jonathan Sassones. I represent Simgill Company, Inc. I'm second-generation builder, also a graduate from our local USC Architecture School. We are general contractors who solely bid on public work projects and have completed several successful projects for the city over the last 25 years, including that serve the community, including the LA River projects, the 109th Street Pool, and the Ferraro soccer field, and many others. As you may know, COVID has been hard on public work contractors because many projects were canceled, and on this project, we are the lowest bidder because of our SPE status, small business and local business program that City Council President Krikorian has started several years ago. The project would benefit the neighborhood because it would stabilize the hillside and prevent mudslides over the winter and DG falling over the dry summer. These are there are also small pests such as rats, snakes that run into the community. Additionally, the businesses on Sunset would benefit from improved streetscape and safer environment from a deteriorating hillside. And we have all seen the images from hillsides that have deteriorated and fallen, and this would prevent further and more expensive work in the future. This is the second time this project has been bid on, and the last time the bids were much less. We're just concerned and thinking that the next time the project is bid, it will be much more expensive. And you
Please
could
wrap
probably
up, Mr.
guarantee that.
Sassones. It's 2 minutes.
Okay. May I wrap up?
Yes.
So in summary, we urge the board to reconsider and move forward with this project for the neighborhood, for the community, and safer for environment for everyone. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments this morning. The public comment for item number 3 is now officially closed. Thank you. Moving on, Mr. Smith, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you. Patrick Schmidt, Bureau of Engineering, Geotechnical Engineering Division. As President Garcia said, this board report is to reject all the bids for the Class 3 remedial slope mitigation at Sunset Boulevard between Coronado Terrace and Waterloo Street. This is phase 2 of the project. The purpose of this project is to remediate an unstable slope with installation of permanent soil nails and shotcrete facing. This slope remediation has a length of approximately 236 feet and varies in height from about 20 feet to 35 feet. Design includes approximately 200 soil nails with lengths varying from 10 feet to 32 feet and an 8-inch thick shotcrete covering with architectural wall ribs. This project actually matches up to the eastern end of the Phase 1 project that was completed a couple years ago and continues the project towards Waterloo Street. The project was advertised for construction bids on March 29, 2023, and on March 3rd, 2023, the board received 3 bids for the project. During the last winter storms, the site did suffer some damage in the forms of additional slope failures that changed the topography of the design. So we feel it's appropriate to revise and reevaluate the condition of the design and most likely revise the design to accommodate the change in geometry of the slope. Therefore, the city engineer recommends that all bids received for this project be rejected and that the project be re-advertised at a later date. That concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Any questions, colleagues? Vice President Villegas?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schmidt, for your report. I just wanted to ask a question on the Phase 2 project. Is this the second time that we advertised for this project?
I don't know if that's correct or not. No, my staff is telling me no. By the way, I do want to introduce a couple staff members here in a minute.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so it's only been advertised once, and the bids that we received were over the estimated, or the estimation that BOE anticipated. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you will go back and review both our estimation, meaning BOE's estimation, and the bidders to see where the, I guess, the discrepancy lays. Is that correct?
Yes, we can definitely do that. And as I mentioned, we're anticipating that the design needs to be reevaluated due to the storm damage, and we're anticipating that there'll be some revisions to the design. So we will do another estimate once the project is reevaluated and redesigned as necessary.
I see just on Google Maps that the lane is closed. Is that still the case?
I'm not aware of the lane being closed.
Okay. Because I see that there is a grade just between separation on. When will that get re-advertised?
We're going to start right away. We're in the process of looking at what changed and looking at our current design, and hopefully we'll be back here to get it re-advertised in the upcoming months.
Okay, and is there any safety precaution being done on this area that needs the slope repairs?
Following the damage during the storms, we did put some tarping over the slope to protect it from further damage. We will, for this upcoming rainy season, we'll make sure we go by there and reevaluate. And with our upcoming erosion control project for this current fiscal year, we'll address it if needed.
Okay, and is this, what I'm trying to get at, I'm wondering, is this a dire emergency?
These cut slopes there have been there for decades, maybe 100 years. So they have been gradually deteriorating over the years. So there's a need to get it repaired, and we will do that. It's just this is actually phase 2 of there's 3 main phases, and there's a 4th phase down the street a ways. So we're trying to address all 4 phases, and this sequence is we got to get phase 1's been completed. We got to get phase 2 done, and then work with DWP to potentially move the power lines from the south side of the street to the north side, then go into phase 3. So to answer your question, it does need to be done, and we're working on it, and we need to move forward with it in a timely manner.
Okay, but from your, but it is not an emergency?
I think it's much more important to evaluate, and the correct thing to do, in my opinion, is to reject all the bids and move forward with a reevaluation to make sure we have the right scope and the right concept and the right plans that we send out to bid for a future
Okay.
opportunity.
Thank you. And then just how far apart were we with what the industry says and what we estimated?
Our estimate was for the current package was $1,940,148. We got 3 bids in, ranging from 7 to 14% above the city engineer's estimate. And as the gentleman mentioned, there was some correction to one of the bids for local. I'm not sure what you call it. Just we decreased their bid amount, I believe, by 8%. That's considered for the evaluation of the bids, and I don't know exactly where that ended up, but that was above our city engineer's estimate, I understand.
Okay. And will there be a need to like meet with any of the bidders again, or you're just completely rejecting them and then asking them to redo? The reason for my question is that there's obviously, you know this just as well as other bureaus, it takes a lot to put in a package, right, to be able to bid on this work. So there's already hours of work that it went into the initial package for it to be rejected. So I don't know if there's more context that's going to be shared, or if there's going to be an additional like bidders information to be able to share with the folks that may have initially proposed for this work and then would still like to propose again for this work, just so that, you know, some of the work that they did initially could still be used for the second go-around. But that information, in my opinion, needs to be shared with them, and I don't know if that's going to be done.
Yeah, so we can. I don't believe. Once again, we still need to evaluate it and redesign it as necessary, but I don't see the whole redesign. I don't see the whole project being redesigned. I imagine it'll just be a portion of it. So in my mind, the bidders that bid on this phase will have an advantage because they already have the general scope. They're knowledgeable of the scope. And once again, the design concept isn't going to change. It's just some of the parameters of the design will most change as part of the redesign.
Okay, but there won't be a bidders, like, you know, sometimes we put out like information for bidders before we ask folks to bid, so there won't be that meeting initially?
We can make it a mandatory site meeting with potential bidders. We can include that in our package.
Okay, all right. I'm not asking like for any extra work. I was just wondering if when sections, if, you know, we provide just additional context for the public, for other firms that are interested in bidding for work with us.
Yeah, in this case, you know, we went out to the general contracting community, so we didn't go to our on-call list. So this opportunity and the future rebid will be open to all potential contractors that want to bid. And like I stated, I believe that the individuals that bid on this scope will have a little bit of an advantage because the overall scope and the project concept is not going to change. Just some of the design parameters are going to change. I mentioned this is a soil nailed structure. We put in nails kind of horizontally, a little bit inclination, and then we shotcrete it. So okay. The design's going to be the same exact concept, but the number of nails may change, the length of the nails may change, things like that. So there's not going to be any major change to the concept of the project, just some of the design parameters and some of the individual components of the design are going to most likely change.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Schmidt, that means that, my question was similar to that, is were we going to add any additional work to the scope of work, in other words? So your answer, based on what you just said, your answer is yes, but I'll let you.
I anticipate that. We still need to evaluate it, but I would imagine that, once again, maybe some of the nail lengths change, maybe, you know, some of the other portions of the design change, but the overall concept won't change.
Okay. Was that caused by the recent, the storms that we had this year? We were very inundated with water, you know, I don't know, earlier this year. Was that situation that happened? Okay.
Yes.
So it's new. It's a new situation.
Yes, we had a recent failure out there during this most recent
Okay, understood. And you're saying the rebid will come forward very shortly?
Yes, I need to check with staff. I believe in the next few months we can get it out to bid again.
Okay, got it. And just to confirm, this is the first time you are withdrawing all the bids for this
This
project?
project, yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay. Your team is confirming? Okay, I see nodding heads over there too.
I'm glad
Okay.
they're here.
Just making sure, but I also don't see, if usually on the board report, they'll say, like a history action to it, so I think I was looking for that and I didn't see it either, so I know, I think everybody's correct on this sense, unless we're all wrong and you guys can let me know later.
Okay, I don't think we are wrong, though. If I recall right, I think maybe the Phase 1 project was also rebid, but I'd have to go back.
Maybe that's what it was, because that was phase 1, this is phase 2. How many phases are you gonna have to this project?
Well, there's 4 phases, but there's 2 on the north side of the street, then the Phase 3 is on the south side of the street, then Phase 4 is down the block ways. So there's a total of 4 projects in this area.
Okay, 4 projects, but they're all one big project.
There phases 1 and 2 are right next to each other, and they had a special requirement where they had to have an architectural finish with some architectural ribs and definition.
I remember
We worked
that.
with the CD13 on the design of that.
Yeah,
Phase 3 will have a similar appearance, and then I understand Phase 4 doesn't need to be quite that elaborate. It'll be more of a typical design.
is that because it's out of the public view, or why would that be less than the others?
I don't know. When we, and be honest with you, we were meeting with CD13 before COVID, and at the time they were really focused on 1 and 2 and 3 having a similar appearance, and they basically indicated to us at that time that Phase 4 didn't have to have the special appearance that obviously adds cost and adds texture and
Okay,
complicated the build.
but right now we're just in phase 2.
2.
Okay, so before we get to phase 3 and 4, can I just, can we just, during our briefing, go through the renderings I just want to know why we would do it aesthetically nice for one area and not so nice in the other, or basic,
Well, I
was
think
gonna
it'll
say.
all be nice. It's just I don't know the answer to that, but I do know we did meet with CD13 once again several years ago and went over all this, and they were really focused on 1 and 2 and 3. So 1 and 2 are on the north side of the street. 1's adjacent to 2, and then 3's directly on the south side of the street across from that.
See, that's.
And there may be a bigger, the hillside's higher in those areas. Maybe there's just a bigger appearance, so they wanted it nicer.
Okay,
But I would
I
have
think
to-
I just want to see the landscape of everything, just to see why we're here on 2, 3, and 4 not doing it. But I also think we need to brief and bring up to date the current council member and see his thoughts on what he wants to see for for the parts that we can still design or add anything else, which is your 3 and 4.
We will reach out to, yes, we can definitely do that. We will reach out to 13.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Sure.
Okay, colleagues, any other questions, issues, or comments on this item? Hearing none, any objections? Hearing none. Oh, right before I take deliberation, TJ Knight just reminded me that we have somebody that wants to just provide public comment. I'm going to take it just because this is like kind of a big deal of rejecting some bids. Go ahead, TJ Knight, can we take the caller? I'm opening, even though I had already closed public comment, I'm just going to open it because I think this is important to have people, I want to hear what they have to say.
Thank you, Madam President. I do see a hand raised in our virtual platform, and I just want to ask Mr. Hamid to unmute and identify yourself for the record, and I want to check to see if you are requesting to submit your commentary on item 3, or if you'd like to speak on another one of our items on today's agenda. So if you would please press star.
Hello?
Yes, star
Hi.
6 to unmute. Mr. Hamid.
Yes, this is Hamid with HCS Construction. Regarding to this matter, we would like to see if we can have quick comments, please.
Please spell your last name for the record, sir, Mr. Hamid.
That's HEKARA MIZ. We are one of the bidders of this project, the first bidder.
Understood, Hamid. And so we'll go ahead and offer you 2 minutes to provide your input on item number 3, and you may go ahead at this time.
Thank you. Good morning, Councilor. The reason I joined this meeting was so this project was bid almost 3 months ago, and this is the phase 2 of this project. And the reason, because we got the letter that the bids were rejected, but there was no merits, like there's no reasons for it, so that's why I wanted to join. However, from understanding this meeting, one of the reasons is due to the budget. I just want to understand that because we have done other projects with the city of LA, and this is actually very close to the engineering estimate. 7% is very close to the engineering estimate for the specialty work, which is soil nailing. And the projects that we have done or seen other people bidding, they've been 20 to 25% over engineering estimate. So this over engineering estimate for only less than $150,000 over $2 million worth of work is actually very close, as close as it possibly could get to the engineering estimate. So I just want to know why this project is being treated differently as far as the budget-wise versus the other project. That's number one. Number two, Mr. Knight mentioned that the design may need to be changed for the soil nails. I'm an actual engineer myself and a contractor. We're both engineering and construction company. So if the nails lengthen, some of the items which you are mentioning is actually minor, need to be changed, why couldn't that be done during the construction under a force account or a change order rather than small businesses like us who are bidding this project and takes us 3 to 4 weeks to actually put the proposal together along with our subcontractors, losing on the project and let's say in 2 months or 3 months getting re-advertised with the same if you're saying it only takes 2 months for you guys to re-advertise it, then I'm on the impression that the design is not significantly changing. Maybe, as you mentioned, the length of these soil nails needs to be changed. But if that's the only item, why wouldn't city consider doing that as a change order or a force account versus going through all these two? This is my understanding. There was 2 reasons for rejection of all bids.
Please wrap up, Hamid. It's 2 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
You can go ahead and wrap up your thought.
That's it. I just wanted, because on the letter there was no reason, and now that's why I joined the meeting. But these 2 reasons, I've seen it very, very applied differently.
Thank you.
For the projects.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamid. Thank you, TJ Knight. Okay, I think we captured that during the deliberation we had here earlier. Making sure that provide Mr. Hamid maybe an email, or if he reaches out, provide him the answer of his question. Okay.
I think we've addressed it too. You just had a previous item before you where there were huge, in my opinion, very large change orders.
Yeah.
Increased contingencies, and we don't know what the impacts of the redesign are going to be. So we need time to really evaluate it. And once again, it's definitely, in our opinion, that it's in the city's best interest is to reject all the bids, give us time to evaluate it, give us time to adjust the design, and then repackage it up and send it back out. Going forward at this time with this knowledge, we're looking at, in my opinion, large change orders, potential delays during construction to evaluate things. So the right thing to do is reject all the bids and rebid it.
Okay. My last question, do you think we're going to have, well, probably not, being that you're going to rebid. I wanted to see if we were going to get this up before the next storm came around. It doesn't seem that way. So we're going to have to take precaution measures and some contingency money so that make sure that we're ready for whatever happens before the next storm.
We did some of that during the previous storms, and we'll revisit that and check it. And we have an annual erosion control project that we could pick up if we need to do some more tarping over the slope, things like that. We can pick that up in that project. The CEO's office was very generous to us in the budget this year, so we do have some funding in there to address, and they always give us some extra funding to address items that come up during the storms. That's the annual project we do that we keep open all the way through. We do the initial scope of work, right at the beginning of the rainy season, then we keep it open throughout the whole rainy season, address items that come up due to storm damage throughout the winter season, then we close it out before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, very well. I was at any objections, colleagues? No? Hearing none. Is there a motion on the table to approve item number 3 forward and move it forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Thank you, VP Villegas. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Davis. TJ Knight, there's a first by VP Villegas and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 3 forward and forthwith.
Very good. And for item number 3, we'll take a roll call vote, starting with you, Madam President,
Aye.
Vice President Villegas,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis,
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
All ayes, and item number 3 is adopted and will be approved forthwith.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. We look forward to bringing this back to us ASAP.
Okay, thank you. President Garcia, if you don't mind, I'd like to introduce a couple staff members that are here today that have been very involved with the response to the Geotechnical Engineering Division storm damage response. Kristen Lai, she's our Hillside, she runs our Hillside program. She's the one that took the lead on making sure we got the Mulholland Drive. We had 2 storm managers at Mulholland Drive, which under her leadership and her team, they got those open in 4 weeks.
Oh, nice.
And we're responding to all the storm damage. They're actually here with me today. After this meeting, we're going out with some FEMA inspectors. So I want to introduce Kristen and then Morton Price. He's one of our leaders in our office that he had up all the storm damage response for the division. I'm not sure how many sites we went to, but it was over 100 sites, and we're still responding to that. You know, after all the storms are done, as I just mentioned, we're heading out with FEMA right now. We're still following up on the storm damage, then we'll package everything up for the budget submittal this fall. So just want to introduce those two.
Welcome. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to meet you both.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you for your time. Forward to when you guys start presenting as well. Right.
Do a great job. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Smith.
Yep,
Have a
thank
great
you.
rest of the day.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Moving on to item number 4, this is a request from the Bureau of Street Service and the Bureau of Engineering, District 8, for a task order solicitation number 705, Tetra Tech Inc., Western Our Way Walk and Wheel Improvements Project, recommending the board to, 1, authorize the city engineer to issue the task to Tetra Tech Inc. from the pre-qualified on-call bridge civil engineering and other design and support services consultants list to provide engineering support services for the Western Our Way Walk and Wheel Improvement Project to complete the project approval and environmental document phase as stated in Task Order 705 with a budget authority of $3,022,968, including contingency. And this morning, we have here Mr. Albazi, but I want to make sure I get the gentleman's name correct, so give me one.
It's a Mark Weissa, I believe.
Mark
Weissa, sorry. I'm so sorry for mispronouncing your name.
Weizar?
Weissa.
Okay,
Weizar.
okay, good. Well, welcome, Mr. Weizar, for this item. I know that you requested 4 and 6 to be taken together. So, together or just back to back?
Back to back.
Back to back. Okay, got it. Okay, so let's start with you, Mr. Weizar.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners and members of the board. Mark Weissa, civil engineer with the Bureau of Street Services, Streets LA. The item before you is to request the board authority to issue the task order solicitation cost 705 to Tetra Tech, who was selected from the Bureau of Engineering pre-qualified on-call bridge civil engineering support services consultant list to provide pre-design engineering services for the Western Our Way Walk and Wheel Improvement Project. This project is a Caltrain's Active Transportation Project, or ATP, Cycle 6, that will construct complete street treatments along Western Avenue and parallel streets. The total project budget is $47.7 million. The budget authority for this request is $3 million, including contingency. The project is located in South Los Angeles in Council District 8, along a 4.5-mile stretch of Western Avenue from Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard to Century Boulevard. Western Avenue is currently a high-speed vehicular corridor with a high incidence of collisions. To address the numerous safety issues and infrastructure gaps, the project will be implementing a number of design features such as curb extensions, curb ramps, bus bulbs, high visibility crosswalks, and shade trees. There will be no fiscal impact to the general fund, as the reimbursements, when received, will be deposited back into the Transportation Grant Fund. By getting the authorization to issue the task, the Bureau of Street Services will issue the notice to proceed to commence the pre-design activities, community outreach, and obtain the necessary environmental clearances. We anticipate that the pre-design activities be concluded by fall of next year. The project has been community-driven and is greatly supported by CD8. Streets LA staff have been meeting monthly with the council office since January of this year, providing updates and coordinating with stakeholders. Streets LA will continue to partner with CD8 to ensure successful project implementation. This concludes my report, and happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your report. This is a very exciting project. I'm excited to see make in that area. I'm very familiar with that area, so I know that this is very much needed. I have just one basic question, and then I'll turn it over to my colleagues. From the existing to what we are proposing, it looks like there was 3 lanes on each side, and now there's going to be 2 lanes on each side, and the other remaining 2 lanes are for parking. Is that correct?
So the project will not be changing any lane configuration.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's,
So we're not going to cut any traffic lanes.
no,
Yes.
no, we're just going
So
to be,
I just, people still drive in LA. I'm sorry, but we still do.
right. Yeah, we're only proposing curb extensions and upgrading the curb ramps, adding street lights.
Okay. I
Upgrading
didn't
the
capture
crosswalks.
that here. Okay, I didn't see that on here. That's why I asked. Okay. All right, colleagues, any questions on this item? Dr. Davis, Vice President Villegas?
Just a quick question. How many folks from our on-call list did we get to propose for this project?
We received 2 bids.
And who was the other bidder?
It was David Evans and Associates, I'm sorry.
Okay, and so based on those 2 bids, Tetra Tech was the successful bid.
Correct.
And what was the reasoning behind that? Was it,
So the,
I obviously, I know some of the reasons why they would be selected, but I want to hear from you, like, what were the reasonings that their bid was just more superior?
sure. So the criteria that we graded the bidders on were their capability to provide the scope of services as per directed in our TOS, the project understanding, their capabilities and qualification of the project manager that they're proposing to be on the project, and the capability and qualifications of the prime and their subconsultants. And finally, the history of the firm in successful budget and schedule compliance projects of that magnitude. And according to the grading that we went through, Tetra Tech was the superior consultant.
Okay, thank you. And they're doing our engineering services, design work.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Al Vazi. I'd like to add one particular piece of information pertinent to this. With this being a federal contract, the bids, when we evaluate them, the criteria do not involve any financial information. We cannot, so we don't know the prices until we negotiate, and then we make the selection, and that's when we open the envelopes with the price proposal. So I just thought might like to add that. So
Okay.
it was not based on any financial. We negotiate the proposal after our selection.
Okay. And before us, though, is a budget of about 3 million as the authority, including the, is that correct?
That is correct. We do have a budget allocated for the PAED phase, and we have to negotiate under that amount, and we were very in achieving that.
All right. And right here, it's just vague. It says for engineering support services. And is this the total for Tetra Tech, or is there more to come?
This is the total.
Okay, so this is the total under TOS 705 at
Under
the little over
TOS.
3 million.
Exactly, and that will take us until the expiration of the contract, which is coming up in November 2024.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, I don't have any additional questions. Just again, what I always said, you received 2 bids out of how many on the list? At least, so 20 did not submit anything. Okay, I was asked to go back and just kind of find out why we received such little bids from we have 20 on the list. Just making sure that, all 20 are still running, the business is still open, so that we can start eliminating those that we don't need there, and then start really looking at these lists overall to see if we can get new folks to be able to be part of these lists.
Sure, absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, I don't have any other questions or issues on this item. I'm very happy that we are forward. And I know that we are in pre-design. I'm sorry, are we in pre-design or design? We are in design phase. This is going to be probably a preliminary question, but when do you suspect we can start the, actual construction? And when do you suspect we will have a beautiful street down on, is it Western? Western, yes.
Yeah, so this is actually the pre-design phase.
Pre-design.
And we're anticipating to finish when the contract is up, so November 2024. Right now, the construction, we're anticipating to start construction early 2027.
2027?
Correct.
Can we expedite this situation? It seems like a fairly long time.
Yeah, so because this is, like I mentioned earlier, a federally funded project, before we request allocation for the next phase, we have to provide Caltrans with actual deliverables. So we have to finish pre-design, and there's usually a 4 to 6 months period of paperwork to get approved to actually issue the TOS for the design phase, and then so on for the construction.
Okay.
So taking all that into account, that puts us early 2027 for construction.
What about 2025, 2026? What are we going to be doing there?
So November 2024 is our...
Right, we finish
Right.
this.
And then I think right now spring of 2025, that's when the design phase starts. And usually design will take about a year. So from spring 2025 to spring 2026. And then from spring 2026, about 6 months for bid and award. And then early 2027 is the construction.
Yikes, okay. Well, Al, if you can find a way to make this happen sooner, that would be very appreciative here. It just seems like this needs it like now, today. Okay. I agree. Okay, thank you so much. Please do so. I guess my instruction would be just, look at other ways that we can expedite the situation. That corridor really needs it now, really, to be honest. Okay, thank you. Okay, colleagues, any other question, issues, or objections on item number 4? Hearing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 4 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Thank you, VP Villegas. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Davis. TJ Knight, there's a first by VP Villegas and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 4 forward.
Very good, and we will take a roll call vote on item number 4, beginning with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsan.
Aye.
All ayes, and item number 4 is adopted forthwith.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Huiza.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to take item number 6, just so that we can move this forward. Item number 6, this is a request from the Bureau of Street Services and the Bureau of Engineering in all council district. Budget increase task order solicitation number 702, Tetra Tech Inc. and MGE Engineering Inc. Recommending the board to, 1, authorize the Bureau of Street Services Director to issue a revision of the task for task number 702A to Tetra Tech Inc., increasing the budget authority by $1,452,194 from $1,696,067 to $3,148,261, including contingency for continued support services for the BSS programs. And 2, authorize the BSS Director to issue a revision of the task number 702B to MGE Engineering, Inc., increasing the budget authority by, a lot of numbers here, Mr. Al.
Sure is.
By $1,192,194.70 from $2,306,693.71 to $3,498,888.41, including contingency for continued support services for the BSS programs. I hope I said all those numbers right. Mr. Al, welcome.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Al Bazi, reporting on item number 6. I'm Principal Civil Engineer with the Bureau of Street Services. So part of the city's pavement preservation program, Streets LA is mandated to upgrade all of the access ramps to ADA standards. So the city has currently a very sizable backlog of access ramps that needs to be designed, constructed. So back in October 14, 2022, this board approved awarding TOS 702 to 2 consulting firms to approve the design of 250 ramps each. And again, on May 10th, 2023, just to keep the wheel spinning, and this board also authorized additional tasks to the same 2 consultants, Tetra Tech and MGE, authorizing Tetra Tech additional design of 100 ramps and MGE additional design of 200 ramps. So this fiscal year, Streets LA was awarded additional funding to keep working on this task for the design as well as the construction of access ramps. So, which brings us to the matter which is in front of us today. This necessitates the need to keep the 2 consulting firms on board and to give them additional tasks. So today, for MGE, I'm requesting asking today to authorize MGE additional $499,000 approximately to design additional 100 ramps. So Streets LA is proposing to build up to 200 ramps this year in-house. And we are going to have a lot more funding left to construct ramps. So what Streets LA is proposing to do is to utilize contractors next fiscal year to build up to 350 ramps. So we're going to task Tetra Tech to prepare some bridging documents, which are comprised of 30% design plans. Once those are completed, we are going to bid those out under a design, build, delivery method. And then the contractor will undertake those 30% limited design, finish the design, and construct the 350 ramps.
Okay, very well. Any questions, colleagues? Dr. Davis?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, in terms of the division of work, was there ever a time that we had people in-house that would be able to design for us? As obviously know that we create the work for vendors or contractors, but in terms of the task that we're paying for here and looking at our organizational structure, was there ever a time that we had people with the Bureau that could do that task?
Yes, absolutely, Commissioner. Thank you for your question. We do have that capability at Streets LA for both design and construction. It's just that the size of the task that's in front of us today is so overwhelming. We're talking about thousands of ramps that need to be addressed. Our staff are fully committed. They're working, including overtime, on design. Our crews are fully committed for construction on a daily basis of these access ramps. We are going to allocate 2 additional crews for this task. However, those crews, they're going to be taken from some other work. So our executive management are continuously assessing and prioritizing tasks because we all know how important this is. We are mandated to do this.
Was there ever a time that we decreased the numbers of people who did the design? I do realize that we are an employment agency, and we should be and have always been. We are an agency, again, or an organization that employs people full-time, but also we are an agency or an organization that lets out contracts. And so therefore, we have a significant role economically in the region. So I'm very clear about who we are. But also, as I look at who we are as an organization in-house, I'm wondering if the staff we have doing the design, should it be increased? Has it been decreased over some time in that regard?
During my 4 years with Street Services, we're continuously increasing the number of engineers and architects that are needed for this task.
For design.
For design, absolutely.
So we have not decreased, we have increased through your observation.
We continue to increase, we continue to fill all vacancies, and to make it part of our budget requests every year with the CAO to keep allocating more staff for this task.
As we look moving forward, do you think we have ample enough of design staff? I know that we're never going to have enough design ever depend upon the industry to do some work for us, and I understand the dynamics of that. But what I'm really wanting to know is our core staff. Do you feel as an engineer our core staff is adequate in terms of the projects that we have to confront?
What we have to address program needs is adequate, Commissioner. But this particular task in front of us here is so overwhelming, and it requires a lot of resources, and that's why we're reaching out to consultants. Historically, Streets LA has been having the adequate number of designers, I should say, and engineers to address the core program, absolutely. But now as the need is increasing going forward, we are adjusting accordingly.
So do you think that, I would think that oftentimes the work that we have before us is not necessarily always predictable, that there'll be an up and a down. Do you feel that the volume of work that we're getting now has increased to the level that we need to expand in terms of our ability to be able to deliver design services to accommodate reasonably the work that needs to be done on construction? I do realize, and I think we all support, the letting out of contracts. And again, we know that this is what we all, but I just really want to make sure that we're thinking very seriously about our capacity in-house as it relates to the Bureau. So I just wanted to, through your experience and observation as an engineer, get your feedback on that.
We definitely have a lot more work on our plate right now, right? We just presented to you one of our ATP Cycle 6 projects. We've got that's gonna require a lot of resources from our end. That's why we're engaging consultants right now. Our grant portfolio continues to grow. It's up to $650 million right now, which is a new record. This is unprecedented. So absolutely, you're hitting it right on the nail, Commissioner. We do need resources. We continue to work with the CAO office. Our STAP program, Street Furniture Program, continues to grow. And we just signed a new contract that's going to require a lot of resources as well.
Right.
And all of those are being addressed through the budget process, working with the CAO.
While I support this motion, if we keep doing what we keep doing, we're going to keep getting what we keep getting. And I think that as we think about some of the realities that exist that you have shared with us, that when we look at the millions of dollars that we're putting out, it would be wise of us to also think internally in terms of our own growth and development. Certainly we have to contract out, and we will always do that.
Right.
But also I don't want us to fall short of the internal challenge that we have to grow our staff to an adequate degree. And so when I say adequate, that's what I mean. If you tell me we are consistently busy because of all of this work we have consistently had. It means something to me not only in terms of contracting, it means something to me in terms of capacity with the services we provide to manage that contracting. And so I'm not seeing a balance in many ways, if you hear what I'm saying.
Right.
And I would love to, as we accept this motion, to take some of the lessons learned for the motions that we are presenting and help to make sure that we are balanced in a way that our internal capacity matches our capacity to contract out.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll be more than happy to continue this conversation in the future and keep you updated and posted of our challenges as they come up.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe his argument will help you with your argument when we're trying to get more positions approved at the CAO office.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, I don't have any issues. This is something we have to do. It's not it's required that we have to do this and improve our access ramps. So I'm excited. I wish we were, I know that this is phases, but I would like to see more. It's 160 today,
Okay.
but I think we need to complete it in the number of the thousands.
It's in the
So
thousands.
it's just like a piece of, a little piece of this big, huge puzzle that we have to do. So perhaps we can start looking at bigger scopes, more work. I know that we're breaking it down. We can also look at maybe even doing some community level contracting for the short. I'm just trying to find a way that we can get more approved access ramps throughout the city. And I know that this is just 160 out of thousands that we have to do.
That's right. And this vehicle, I think it's a step in the right direction. Engage contractors. This is the first time we
Correct.
do that in Streets LA as far as access ramps. So it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Correct, I agree. Okay. Any questions? So I heard Dr. Davis put a motion. Is there a second? Oh, Vice President Rizzi.
I just have just a point of clarification. The recommendations on here sound very general. It's just a budget increase. It doesn't necessarily say for 100 access ramps or for design work of additional access ramps. It's just technical. I guess I'll ask our city attorney or TJ, should we include that in here?
So you're asking if an amendment should be made to the recommendations to include.
Yeah, include just because currently it just says it's a budget increase. And it says to continue to support services for BSS programs. It doesn't necessarily tag what Tetra Tech will be doing. So I'm asking if we should say we have a budget increase for this amount, to include either the 60 ramps for Tetra Tech and the 100 for MGE. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on the number.
Yeah, I can address that a little bit, Commissioner. Yes, the task does include a specific number of ramps. Yes.
Board letter does include the specific ramps, but
Right.
the actual action doesn't stipulate that. That's why I'm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But the contingency amount, that's going to be there in case we need additional tasks, which are not identified as of this moment. So there's a substantial contingency, which is the budget that we have left over. It's in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. We are leaving that open in case we need additional
That's-
tasks that we're not aware of.
Yeah, that is understood. And maybe our city attorney can clarify this. Is there a need to be able to be specific? Because I think it's, in my opinion, if people from the public take a look at this, it says, this budget, and I'm not trying to change the budget at all, but it just says that including contingency, and it's that line just for continued support services. And I'm just thinking, is there a way to break that up a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, if we want to add details about what exactly it is meant to do, we could do that. But it's not necessarily required for motion, but to the extent you would like that to be more flushed out, we if it's possible to do it here, we could add some language.
Okay. I mean, just the whole recommendation just doesn't state what it's for unless you probe into the actual board letter, and then that's what it's.
So
And now my next question to you. Would that detail or that information not leave as much flexibility for you?
As far as the contingency is concerned, that
No,
would limit,
no,
because
no,
the contingency
no.
is part of the budget, is what I'm.
No, not, I'm not talking at
Okay.
all about the budget. I'm just talking about
The language.
the language. So for example, it says recommending that the board, number one, authorize the board, the Bureau of Street Services Director to issue a revision to the task order 702A to Tetra Tech, including the budget authority, by 1.42 million to 1.6 million to 3.1 million. And then the next comma, and then the next information here, it says, including contingency for continued support for BSS programs. So I'm saying and I'm going to use air quotes, including contingency for continued support services for BSS programs is general. And I'm asking you if we include, including 60 ramps for continued support services for BSS programs, if that's going to be like, is that an issue, or is that problematic? Because I want to give you enough flexibility.
That's exactly right, the latter. It's not going to give me enough flexibility.
Okay.
We are planning to issue just the 60 ramps, more, and just the 100 ramps. And we're
Okay.
gonna, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna mention the contingency again, because that's where we're gonna tap into those extra services that are not delineated
here.
here because we don't know about them yet. And those will be tapped from the contingency, which I'm stating in my recommendation.
Okay. I guess it's not spelled out though in the actual letter.
Because
I
if we,
understand.
if we say just 60 ramps, I'm
You're
done.
bounded to
I
that.
have to come back here again every time I want to tap into the contingency because I did not spell it out
Okay,
exactly what I'm
okay.
doing.
No.
Thank you for that clarification. At least we have it on record.
Yes.
But and there's no buts. I appreciate the conversation right now that
Yeah.
we've just had, so that it's transparent, just for the public. And one last question, though, if you'll have to come back to the board for possibly more design work on additional, ramps. I guess if you'll have to come back, will it be to this board, or how will that happen for additional work?
Everything we're doing here is under the current contract, which is expiring in November of 2024. I cannot issue any more tasks.
Okay.
Whatever we have here is going to be more than enough to carry us through that.
Got it.
BOE is currently working on renewing the contract. It's going to be ready probably in the spring of next year. If we need to do anything else, we will be utilizing that new contract.
Okay, but it'll be a new toss.
It will be a new TOS.
Got it.
This is it
Okay.
for TOS 702.
I appreciate it. Thank you for that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm good with that.
Great. Thank you very much, Vice President Villegas. Any other questions? Any comments? Any objections? Hearing none, is there a motion at the table to move item number 6 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, VP Villegas. TJ Knight, there's a first by Dr. Davis and a second by VP Villegas to move item number 6 forward and forthwith.
Very good. And we will take a roll call vote on item number 6, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsand.
Aye.
All ayes, and item number 6 is approved and will be moved forthwith.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Boss.
Thank you.
Wazi, for your time here this morning. Have a good rest of the day. Going back to item number 5, I'm going to take item 5 now. This is a request from Bureau of Engineering and the Bureau of Sanitation in Council District 1 for a budget increase task order solicitation number 13, WSP USA Inc., Taylor Yard G2 parcel, implementation plan, site assessments, and Interim Development Design Services Project. Recommending the board to, one, authorize the city engineer to issue a revision of the task order number 13 to WSP USA Inc., increasing the budget authority from $4,090,631 to $4,434,631 for environmental services for the Paseo del Rio and Proposition O water quality improvement projects for the Taylor Yard G2 parcel implementation plan, site assessment, and interim development design services project. I want to hear what interim development means, Ms. Rabelo. Welcome, good morning.
Yes, good morning. I'm Luz Bello with the Clean Water Division in the Bureau of Engineering. Here to present on this item number 5. So a little bit of background. Taylor Yard G2 parcel is located in Northeast LA in the community of Cypress Park in Council District 1, and it is adjacent to the Los Angeles River. The Paseo del Rio project and the Proposition O Water Quality Improvements project will develop 12 acres of the 42-acre G2 parcel, and it's going to be a nature-focused open space, and it will include multiple walking paths and a water feature that will improve the water quality before it enters the Los Angeles River. So it is known that the site is contaminated based on previous investigations, and it's former used as a former rail yard. And the city is currently entered into a voluntary cleanup agreement with the California Department of Toxic Substances Control, who's the oversight agency overseeing remediation at the site. So a couple of reasons for the budget increase. The addition of the Proposition O Water Quality Improvements project to the Paseo del Rio project scope, which wasn't previously included. And additional requests from DTSC in regards to scope, including additional risk assessments, a site-wide human health risk assessment characterizing the risk posed to visitors of the site by exposure to contaminants of potential concern, as well as a screening level ecological risk assessment to identify compounds of potential concern and identify existing and future habitats, as well as any endangered or special species that may be present on site. So changes proposed in this request include, again, increasing the task budget authority from $4,090,631 to $4,434,631. And a couple of sources will cover this budget increase, including CIEP funding by $30,000 to be consistent with prior allocations, increase in the Integrated Solid Waste Management Front funding for the 2019 EPA Brownfield grant by $48,000 for a total of $100,000, and also an increase in the Integrated Solid Waste Management Front funding for the 2020 EPA Brownfield grant by $70,000 for a total of $100,000, as well as adding propositional funding of $196,000 for a work on the water quality improvements project. This requested changes also included the addition of subconsultants to address this new scope. WSP currently pledges a minority business enterprise of 14.63%, women-owned business enterprise of 5.32%, small business enterprise of 19.94%, and emerging business enterprise of 2.05%, as well as disabled veteran business enterprise of 0.73%. And that concludes my report. And I understand you had an initial question on what the implementation plan means, President Garcia?
Yes, I just had a question. I had never, well, not never, but I don't remember seeing interim in any of our, requests. What does interim mean? I mean, I know what it means, but what does it mean here?
So interim development design services. So WSP was first tasked with the initial task order solicitation in 2017 with completing an implementation feasibility report for the site. And so that was very early stages of the G2 parcel. And so interim basically means before actual development of the site
Okay.
happened. So preliminary feasibility studies.
Okay, understood. How big is the site? I mean, I know it's huge, but how big is the scope that we're going to look at in this task order? Or just in the whole project?
Right. So this is focusing on the Paseo del Rio and the quality improvements project, and the total is 12 acres for those projects combined.
Got it. And then once we do this 12 acres, is the plan to then, because there's more, right? Is the plan to then kind of move to the next section?
Correct. So the plan for the G2 parcel is to be developed in phases. A lot of it is based on funding. So we are currently in the phase 1, or this first project early development activation phase, which will only develop 12 acres. And then the plan is to continue to develop the rest of the site.
I agree. Okay. And this has been going on for a while. I saw, well, I guess 2022 is when we started some of this, right?
So the initial, the task order solicitation to WSP was in 2017, I believe.
Okay, yeah, a few years off there. All right, so any other questions, colleagues? Any questions, period? Any comments, any objections? Okay. Is there a motion on the table to move item number 5 forward and forthwith?
So moved.
Thank you, VP Villegas. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. TJ Knight, there's a first by VP Villegas and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 5 forward and forthwith.
Very good, and we'll take a roll call vote on item number 5, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsan.
Aye.
All ayes. Item number 5 is approved and will be moved forward forthwith.
Great. Thank you very much to both. Mr. Johnson, thank you as well. Have a good rest of the day. TJ Knight, we have cleared our voting items, and now we are oral report. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Madam President.
Okay, and today for our report, we have the Climate Emergency Mobilization Office update. Climate Emergency Mobilization Office, also known as CEMO, and you guys came in hot and heavy today with a, come on everybody, we want to get to know you as well, especially if you're new. Marta, if you take your time, Marta's our director of CEMO office, if you can just take a few minutes to introduce your staff. I think a lot of us commissioners want to, it's first time seeing a few of them.
Okay, sure, no problem. Good morning, commissioners. It's our pleasure to be here, and we're very grateful for this opportunity to share our semi-annual report. But as President Garcia pointed out, my staff is here, and I'd like to introduce them. First, you'll have Amy Clark. She is our Deputy of Operations, been here just over 6 months. Rebecca Guerra Day, Engagement Logistics Management Analyst, and she has been over 2 years now. Almost, okay. And then we have Christine Lee, and she is our Climate Policy Management Analyst.
Oh,
but because we are a small and mighty team, we work very closely together on all of the projects, and they are the reason that we are here today. And I want to thank them for also helping me pull this report together.
Perfect. Nice to meet you all. Welcome, and happy you're working here with. Thank you.
Great. And I think Rebecca, okay, great. So the first thing we wanted to do is hand out the fans that we've created. And I'll talk about it a little bit later, but I think it did something pretty phenomenal, which is we have 300 bus shelters with our CEMO heat relief graphics. 2,300 buses have our graphics inside.
I saw one today.
You saw one today? And then 125 buses have it on the sides of the buses, and 125 bus benches. And that was quite a coordination for my staff to handle. And I've been told recently by Bureau of Street Services, who handles the bus benches and bus shelters, that a campaign this large has not really been done, you know? So we're like, wow. And we're so very excited of doing it. So anyway, this is part of the campaign, and I'll talk about it a little bit later. So we'll start. I don't know, TJ, if you have the slides for. Oh, we don't, huh?
We have them here,
Oh, you have them?
hard copy.
Okay, great. So again, thank you for having us here. I think what I wanted to start with is a refresher for the public on the goals of CMO. So the goal of CMO is to catalyze collaborations with other city leaders and the community to create equitable climate solutions and community-informed climate resilience for thriving, healthy communities overall. And as most of you know, but I want the public to know, I was designated Chief Heat Officer a little over a year ago. And that was done because the Office of Climate Emergency deals with all climate emergencies, and extreme heat is our primary climate emergency and climate hazard for the city of Los Angeles. The updates I wanted to talk about today are one, our Climate Equity LA series, which is our signature program where we have workshops, but we combine it with focus groups and surveys to ensure that we are not just engaging community, but we're also building awareness and having them help us co-design those workshops, and their participation is critical in this. This year, we'll talk about the focus groups that were conducted and also the surveys that were conducted to ensure that we had their input for heat, for extreme heat as a climate hazard. And the reason that's important is because CMO is working on the local hazard mitigation plan with the Emergency Management Department and also the climate vulnerability assessment with the Planning Department. And both of those will have extreme heat as a priority item for those plans. And then we're also just now embarking on phase 1 of our heat action plan, which was part of an ordinance that was put out last fiscal year by President Krikorian. And so that community engagement and that input from those focus groups and surveys is critical to all of those plans and the alignment of those plans. And what I also like about it is it reduces the fatigue in the community for having, engagement on the same issue over and over again. So the other thing that I wanted to mention here is that we're going to talk about today is the grant applications that CMO is working on based on the concept of creating heat resilient zones, which includes our cooling centers and our building electrification strategy. And then finally, I'll talk about the staffing and our plan for hiring the vacancies, which are the Commission Executive Assistant and the Deputy Heat Officer. Next page is our heat safety campaign description. So I don't know if this is too loud or if you even need this, but I'll step to the side. I think it's maybe too loud. We launched it on May 24th.
No, actually, you were okay.
It was better?
Yeah,
Okay.
right there, perfect.
We launched it on May 24th with Mayor Karen Bass, and what the heat relief campaign is a multimedia campaign. We have over probably close to 100 organizations supporting us on the social media strategy. We also are working closely with the LA Regional Climate Collaborative on that social media strategy. And LARC has also been instrumental with the bus and metro campaign. And we launched these grassroots focus groups on extreme heat to ensure that all of this was integrated into our heat action plan. And the campaign is not just a campaign for the purposes of building awareness and preparing people for the heat, but it's actually part of the early warning system for the city of LA. So we've been working closely with the Emergency Management Department to ensure that we're supporting their work and vice versa. So a lot of great collaboration has come out of this, including that kind of alignment. And I think I already talked, the next slide is, I already talked about how CMO is spearheading the heat action plan, but we are on the steering committees for the climate action plan and the local hazard mitigation plan. And the plans listed below are all critical to ensure there's alignment across the city to maximize resources, maximize our strategy, and ensure that we're all aligned as we move forward with our climate adaptation plans and our heat adaptation plans. And that really does save resources and it streamlines us if we're working on similar plans and on similar goals and recommendations. And that's sounds humongous, and it is because it takes CMO being on various steering committees in multiple departments within Public Works and outside of Public Works. But everybody has been very grateful and received us with a lot of support. So it's been really productive to embark on that. And the next page or the next slide that I have is the schedule that we have for the Climate Equity LA series and part of our heat action planning. And it just shows you what we do. The workshop advisory committee meetings, the annual launch, the series itself, and how we plan the citywide heat safety awareness and response before the community assembly, which is scheduled for October. And all of these events are coordinated by my team. And then next year, it's going to be even more so because next year, I think I may have shared with a few of the commissioners, the Liberty Hill Foundation is going to be transitioning out of its role as our fiscal agent, and we are planning to be working instead with community partners. So we are just now in the middle of that transition, and we'll be speaking, of course, to the city attorney's office and the executive office to make sure that that's a smooth transition.
Okay, can we set up a meeting, a briefing on that, just to get some background information?
A briefing specifically on the transition?
Yes,
Sure,
thank you.
of course. We've talked extensively of the heat relief campaign. If you skip 2 pages over, it shows some of the graphics that you'll see on the bus shelters and on the sides of buses and in the buses. And again, I really want to thank the LA Regional Climate Collaborative for being so instrumental, the LEAP LA Coalition, the members of the LEAP LA Coalition, Lisa Hart from the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance, and about 75 other organizations who are helping us disseminate the information. And I wanted to point out that the iconic artist Lalo Alcaraz designed not only this heat poster, but what we call the toolkit poster that we'll be distributing to departments and organizations citywide. The other thing my staff just did is that we included everything that's on the next slide, cooling centers, what the Cool Spots LA app is, how to address heat-related illness, how to address outdoor worker safety. All of these topics are now on My 311. And the 311 team has been working closely with us so that they can better respond to calls that are about heat stress, heat injury, and where to go for refuge from the heat and where the cooling centers are. And all of the tools that we've created at CMO are not only listed on our website and our social media, but Emergency Management Department, as well as many other departments, are including the tools that we've created when they on their website and also on their social media. So it's really become sort of, I think CMO has become a catalyst to ensuring that we have the right tools and resources to prepare LA for extreme heat adaptation. The next page is about our policy priority areas. And the first is, of course, equity-focused heat and climate adaptation planning and coordination. And the next line says that I'm integrated into the Adverse Weather Task Force and Emergency Operations Planning with the Emergency Management Department. And what that means is that I and CMO are integral to ensuring that we're not just preparing for extreme heat events, but also the deployment of resources for other adverse weather events. And we work closely with the Mayor's Office of Public Safety and the Emergency Management Team in identifying cooling centers for extreme heat. So it's been really illuminating and helpful and strategic to be part of those processes. We continue to work on the equitable building decarbonization for the city of Los Angeles. We are also an advisor for the ordinance that has requested that the Bureau of Engineers electrify all city buildings. So we are working closely with the Bureau of Engineers on a prioritization strategy and a criteria strategy for the electrification of all city buildings. And we're also now advising on that CD1 motion for, that is requesting LAHD, DBS, DWP on a study on how to bring thermally comfortable cooling equipment to apartments in the city of Los Angeles, and how we overcome the challenges of that, and how we ensure that we address it in a way that doesn't create a burden, an energy burden, an economic burden on the tenants themselves. And obviously, we don't want that to create displacement. So we've been attending some of those LAHD meetings with my staff and meeting with DBS and LAHD so that we can all get on the same page as to our recommendations, some of which come from the community on creating an equitable approach to electrification and building decarbonization for the city of LA. And SEMA also sees itself as critical in co-designing heat resilient climate infrastructure investments. And part of the way that I think we're leading on that is with this Strategic Council grant and this EPA grant that is identifying city facilities that will be prioritized for not just electrification, but to be resilient centers. Resilient centers in areas of greatest need that are hardest hit by extreme heat, but also are in areas that have a history of being historically disinvested and a history of redlining. And of course, we're advising on various council motions and council directives, and that's the next page, right? Let me see if I can, this is very small for me. I'll use my glasses. The first one, I'm not going to talk about all of them, and I think I've already talked about some of them, is 21-1039, which is developing a building decarbonization work plan for the city's existing building stock identification of city facilities. And that's the one that I said we're working closely with the Bureau of Engineers and the CAO's office, and CMO is listed as an advisor. Also, we're working closely with other city departments on ensuring that we have this heat action plan. What else do we have here? My apologies. I think we've talked about all of it, the federal and state grant applications, but we wanted you to have a list of all of the current council files that CMO is responsible for advising on or reporting on. And I introduced my staff earlier, but what I wanted to point out here is that we submitted an RTF for the Commission Executive Assistant about a week ago, and we hope to submit the RTF for the Deputy Heat Officer soon. I think the plan was to submit it early September, so we're preparing to submit that as well. And the next slide, I think I showed this in the very first time that I presented, that because we were a relatively new office, we were in the forming stages, and then obviously we went through the storming stages like any new office, and we normalized, and I think we're at the stage where we're actually performing. So I hope we can stay at this performing stage from here on out, even as we integrate new staff members. And this graph is from Princeton University professor Bruce Tuckman, who studied organizational development and group dynamics. I just think it's pretty cool to show you that we're at the performing stages. And then almost the second to the last page, it has some metrics for you. Last fiscal year, we had 887 registrants and almost 400 people that showed up to our SELA events. And then we have 69 print, TV, social media, radio, and podcast events, which is more than we ever expected. We never realized that heat was going to be such a hot issue. And then it just shows you the metrics for the survey responded. We had an astonishing 546 survey respondents, which was fantastic. We didn't have as many people in our focus groups as we had hoped. We had hoped to get 100. But when people show up, you just never know how many are going to show up. And then our next commission meeting, I don't think I listed it in here, but our next commission meeting is scheduled for October 31st. And we could talk about that a little bit later, but we were going through a bit of a transition since some of our commissioners were recruited to be in other commissions. And actually, some are still resigning because either the youth is going to college now, and another one is resigning as a result of going to another commission. So we are onboarding the new commissioners, meeting with the new commissioners, and then having a meeting with the executive team to plan for that first meeting. And then we will be having them on a regular basis again. I think that's my report, and I'd like to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Marta, for Ms. Segura. I really enjoyed your very thorough slides, and they're really nicely color coordinated as well. But I just want to say that there's a lot of good and heavy information here that is good to have. So thank you for that. This is a really nice report, accumulating everything you guys have done so far. Thank you for that. I have a couple questions, but I'm going to let my colleagues ask any questions. Dr. Davis?
Yeah, thank you so very much, Marta, for this outstanding report. And of the last fiscal year, I wanted to ask you about your observations in terms of what has occurred in climate emergency mobilization in the city of Los Angeles. So over the last year, what have you discovered to be our biggest challenge in terms of your area of responsibility for the city?
Yeah, well, two things. I'm of the perspective that we need to align our climate goals, our equity goals, and our health goals so that we can report on all, right? So if we have a climate investment in South Los Angeles, a climate infrastructure investment in South Los Angeles, that aligns with our equity index, right? And it aligns with our equity values. But then we'd like to demonstrate the health outcomes of that. And that can only be done if we are tracking health. So I'd like to work more closely with LA County and UCLA to ensure that we have baseline numbers for health in those communities that will help us show 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, if these climate infrastructure investments are actually making a beneficial health impact for these communities. So that's a challenge, I think, because no city that I know has been able to not just create an equity index, but be able to track those three elements so that we can get to our charter's goal, because our charter states that one of our primary reasons for existence as a city is to protect the health and safety of our residents, right?
Yes.
So it's tough for any city to align those three, but I'd like to be a steward in ensuring that we make that happen, because then that'll also allow our city to be much more transparent. If we can create an equity index and a dashboard that tracks those elements, then our public will also know that our investments are having a beneficial impact for their health and safety. Right?
And
that
I
would be wonderful.
appreciate your approach to inclusion and equity in the work that you do. And having said that, when we talk about climate control, global, like last few years back, we had even government leaders that weren't clear about the existence of these things. Have you discovered that there still is in the city of Los Angeles a need for awareness amongst the citizens about climate control and climate emergency and mobilization and those issues for us?
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. I mean, we're just getting started in our heat relief campaign, which is a climate campaign, right? Because
Yes.
extreme heat is our primary climate hazard. And I think that it would be very helpful for more elected officials to not just, be aware of the climate crisis, but know how interconnected it is with social equity,
Sure.
with historical disinvestment, and that we can accelerate climate solutions by accelerating those investments in the communities that have the greatest need and the highest risk. Not only will you reduce emissions overall for the region, but you will improve our data, our outcomes for health the fastest. So we'll reach our climate solutions faster and we'll reach our health goals faster. And I think the improvement of Los Angeles
With that
in an
having been
accelerated way.
said, hopefully, as we move forward, you'll have town hall meetings, maybe with some of our various council districts around increasing the awareness. And then for some of us as government administrators as well, in terms of outreach and ways in which we can integrate some of the information that you have to help increase the awareness level of Los Angelenos about climate emergency mobilization and how those issues are critically relevant. For example, how does it impact our homelessness culture? And what difference can we make in terms of increasing the awareness of what you do and interacting in that way? So thank you so much for this report, and we look forward to collaborating with you and going out to the public and trying to increase their awareness.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Davis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Any other questions? No questions? I have maybe two just, you say resilience center, is that different from the cooling centers?
A little bit. I mean,
Okay.
our cooling centers are open, or our augmented cooling centers are activated during a heat event.
Okay,
Whereas what the state is defining as a resilient center is something that's open all year long, but also stays open during a heat event or storm event. And that's what we're all working on, right? And the reason that is because there is this understanding that if there are activities and programs, social services, outreach, and it's the center is part of the social fabric, that people are more likely to go there during a disaster or during a heat event than if you just open up a gym and there hasn't really been any activation before that. So the community is basically demanding that their resilient centers be places that they know, trust, that already have programming and activities for them and that are familiar to them. And many of our libraries and rec centers fit that description. So we're fortunate in that way, but we just want to make sure that there's an overlap between those two definitions.
okay, that's, okay, I like that. That's really nice to see. And I feel like there's so much opportunity there to provide information and to get the information across, even if it doesn't have to do with heat or cooling,
Right.
just environmental information as we are transitioning a community, a city from into understanding more what climate and climate awareness is. So I just see that as a really great opportunity to just have constant information and education on what this new climate intricates come with, cars, the ozone, the emissions. What is emissions? What is carbon footprint? Those are kind of things that just I wouldn't say, just regular people want to know
Right.
or want to hear about.
And if I may, President Garcia, we are collaborating with the Peace and Healing Centers, the Civil Human Rights and
Okay.
Equity Department, and we're coordinating with them because many of those Peace and Healing Centers are ideal to be resilience/cooling centers, and they're excited about participating with us,
Yeah.
and we're excited about participating with them. And just having the visibility that our libraries, our 73 libraries, are cooling centers and resilience centers, is going to make a huge difference for the city. Yeah.
I see it as an education opportunity as well. An education center or learning center on climate and environmental the conversations.
That's right.
Perfect. I love that. I love that. My next question, and this is very basic, just making sure on technicalities of this is, you said your next commission meeting is on October 31st. Please tell me that's not in the afternoon and it's in the morning.
They're normally at 1 p.m.
Okay, good. Because then you were gonna, interfere with trick or treating. That's all. That's all I was asking for. I'm like, please do not do it in the afternoon. Then we're gonna be like Grinches. Let's do it in the morning, and then. Okay,
And we'll make it a fast one.
Okay, good. All right. Anything else, colleagues? Hearing none. Got it. Thank you, Marta, and thank you, CIMO team, for your time this morning
Thank you
and for
all.
the very important information you provided to us, and look forward to continuing this good work.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day.
Thank you.
All right, TJ Knight, have we cleared today's desk?
Yes, we have, Madam President.
Okay, colleagues, it is now 12:21 and this meeting's officially adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.